Hello and welcome back to the Making It podcast. We are here for episode. Come on, Dan. You know what episode it is? It's episode 67. But because Dan asked me to just before we started recording, episode 67, he was asking me so much. And I'm
Oh,
like, Dan, I really am not comfortable doing this, but he said do it anyway. So Dan will do anything for clicks, apparently. But anyway, we're back for episode 67 of the Making It podcast. And it's good to be back. It's a long awaited episode. Um, and contrary to what Dan has said before, I'm not in a hospital bed. This is just my bed. We'll have someone staying in our living room
oh,
for the next week. So shout out Walter. He's staying in the living room. So I've got
does
this
look like
space.
you're in one.
Yeah, this is my studio space now. So I've just come out of the shower. You can see I've only just woke up as well. So I'm a bit tired. But I'm feeling in a pretty good mood to talk, Dan. How are you doing, my bro?
Yeah, I'm really good, man. It's good to speak to you. I know within half an hour you got to jump off to work, so yeah, you just got up, just got ready. For me, it's my day's ending. It's 25 minutes till midnight. I'm good. I've actually just been chilling. My housemates Isaac and Luke have been out at the pub. I think they're on their way back now. I've just been listening to Notorious B.I.G. in the living room, drawing some stuff. So I've just been chilling out, man. I put one of your old podcasts on for a little bit with Michael Dawson.
It's a classic, bro. It's a
Oh,
classic.
oh man. But no, I've been really good actually. It's been when I was back at home, I kind of felt ready to be home. But being
Yeah.
back in Newcastle, I'm ready for like a good few weeks here just to enjoy my last year here. And then I've got all of summer at home. So I'm feeling good, bro. And I'm looking forward to getting into things, man. But how have you been, bro?
All good, bro. 12 days till I go home, which is pretty nuts. You know, I'm having to arrange things for my last shifts at work and all that kind of stuff. So yeah, man, it's pretty crazy. It's pretty crazy to think that the year's gone by quite as quick as it has. And
It's
the
flown
really
by.
interesting part, it's flown by. The really interesting part is you've heard every single week that I've been here. Not just you, Dan, but you listening now. You've heard the ups and the serious downs, the serious ups. You heard it all. And I think that's the beauty of this podcast. And that's just from my perspective. But for you, Dan, we've seen your progress as a coach, as a friend. I think we've seen each other's progress as friends. And we've seen each other progress as emotionally transparent people. Um, but I was thinking when I was writing the blog, I was like, my first ever blog was me at rock bottom, the first ever one. And every single week until then, you got to hear or read how I'm feeling. Because I can articulate myself well with words, bro. But of course, when you're writing, you have a little bit more time to think. There's no pressure, there's no judgment, and it's a little bit different. But like, that's so crazy to me that my whole journey has just been logged in this like little kind of audio and written platform. And now I'm going to go home and still be doing it. But it's just like you can now document your entire life online. And I just find that interesting. So yeah, I'm feeling good. I think it's a bit sad, because it's like the end of something that I've loved and had a lot of fun experiencing. But I was speaking to Deck last night, and to see my friends again, like you, to see Deck, to see my family, bro, I'd do anything right now. It's really getting at me. So I'm excited, bro. I'm excited.
Yeah, and it's actually mad. I'm just looking at the date now, 23rd of April and 7th of May. That's it's literally gonna be like tomorrow. That's how quick
Yeah.
it's gonna go. And for anyone watching, I was just shouting at Isaac and Luke, my housemate, saying that I'm doing a podcast because they knocked on. But mate, it's phenomenal. And I think, to think about your blog, like you've always got that there now. The whole idea of it, never broke in Sydney again, or I'm broke in Sydney. Um, it's so cool. And like you said, this log of podcast episodes we've got, episode 67 now. It's just like you can see those times when you were in that bed with a tea late at night, and maybe it was a bit stormy in the Gold Coast, and now you're here in Sydney, and you know the day's bright, and is coming to an end, and I think just make the most of those things and be present as much as you can towards the end of it, brother. And I think you got to be proud of yourself, man, because I remember that first phone call when you said, I'm going to Australia. And, there've been ups and downs, but now you've got plenty of stories to tell. And I'm very excited to see you too, man. Um, Something I did this week is I went to yesterday. Actually, I was in St Andrews, Scotland. I travelled with the first team with the uni, went to support them. Derek's last ever game with the uni. Unfortunately, he's leaving, so I wanted to be there for that moment. And you know what? It had its ups and downs too. It was actually really really exciting. So the Poly needed a win to get promoted. Went 1-0 up after missing a pen. Then it went to 1-1. Then it was 2-1. Then it went to 3-1. So we were in a really good position. Then in the last like 10 minutes, St Andrews scored and it was 3-2. And then we're going to added time, and it's nervy. And the ref said it was 6 minutes added time. Just doesn't blow the whistle. You look up at the time and it ends up being 10 minutes and a half added time. And of course he blows as soon as they score. So unfortunately, couldn't get promoted. But I mean, Derek was laughing at the fact that that was like his last ever game, and just crazy scenes, and it all kicked off at the end. Coaches getting angry and players getting angry, and their fans coming on and celebrating. It was as much as it was a disappointing not to get promoted. It was a great experience for me on a personal level, and just getting to witness Derek and his final moments with the uni was really exciting for me. And it's been a pleasure to witness him and for him to be a mentor for me. And I really enjoyed that experience. And as I went to bed, I kind of said to myself, I was like, when I first started this sports psychology journey, and I was looking for anything, and to think I just went on an away day with the first team at the uni. On the way there, I'm having a chat with one of their players about like mindset, and like I'm getting to observe that sort of like higher level at the uni. I'm on the coach all the way back. I felt really welcomed actually, which sometimes you don't get with some teams higher up. So it was just a really cool experience, man, and it was great to see. And all good things come to an end, and unfortunately, Derek won't be at the uni anymore. But he's been a great mentor for me. And I just wanted to mention as well, me and Jay came up with a really cool idea the other week, and we're setting goals for each other. So we've had 3 goals for each other this week. And I know you mentioned it in your blog, and I think it's so important. And what do friends and people, I just spoke about Derek, what do friends and people pushing you on and really leveling it up mean to you, brother?
Well, bro, I just want to say first of all on your football thing, and also shout out to Derek because I didn't get much time with Derek, but I can already say that in the time I spent with him, he was a really nice person to chat to and very knowledgeable, and I can see why he'd be a brilliant mentor for you. So shout out to him, and also I'm sure that that game would have been cool for him because it's like he just loves the game. You know what I mean? So it's kind of like one of those instances of this is football, and that's kind of why you do it for moments like that where it all goes to use the phrase tits up.
Yeah.
Um, so, but yeah, no, I think when it comes to the goals thing, bro, I think the when I was thinking about it, I was walking down the street in Melbourne and I was trying to find the library, and I couldn't be bothered to walk the 30 minutes because I didn't have very long left till I had to go and get transport to the airport. And I was thinking to myself, I really want to be better at certain things. And I sort of I want to be like with someone doing it. I always think that like most things that I've done in life, I've always liked to do them with another person. One person. I don't like a big crowd, but like projects, stuff like that, I want to do it with someone because I want to bounce off ideas. I want to hear your perspective. I want you to challenge mine. I want you to go back and forward a little bit until we get that solution. And I was thinking, not a competition, because that's I don't think the way it should be. People can get demoralized through that. But is there a way that we can both challenge ourselves to 3 things a week, typically 2 things related to your brand and your career, one to your personal life? Can we try and challenge ourselves to 3 things a week each? Make them on a Sunday, share them on a Monday, start the new week with 3 things to try and do that will improve yourself. Um, and me and Dan were thinking that this would just be a good thing to do. We're 2 good mates. I think we set each other challenges a lot, maybe indirectly. So why not make it a proper thing? If you don't do them, then Obviously you're going to give each other a bit of a push to do them. But I just think it's a good thing to do, bro. And I think our friendship has lots of layers to it. There's one good layer in that where we're very honest with each other. I think we both know our strengths and weaknesses, but at the same time, we both know what we're capable of achieving. And I would say that we are much better than our weaknesses, for sure. And our weaknesses are definitely not something that's permanent. So just a little idea that I thought of having. But I think, bro, on that topic, do people challenge their friends enough in every sense when they're in a public setting and they say something rude to a waiter? Because I don't think they do personally, and I see that all the time. But not just that instance, but do we challenge them enough when they run 3K? Do we say, hey, come on, let's go for that 5? Do we challenge them enough? Do we push our friends enough?
I think it's quite easy to let things slide. I think sometimes it's dependent on the friends. I feel like with certain friends, to say with you, I feel very well connected to you, so I feel like I've got the space to almost challenge you and try and suggest like improvements. Whereas some people don't take sort of feedback the best. So everyone's different. Maybe some people you've got to be a bit um, less challenging than others, because some people might be a bit resistant and a bit stubborn. So you push different friends in different ways. But I think everyone can set a challenge to kind of understand with the people that are definitely in their closest network, how can they push them on and make sure they're not going down bad habits and making sure that things are addressed. And I know some people struggle to have those conversations with their friends, but you're only going to learn by trying. And if you say to your friend, look, like, this ain't coming from a bad place. I'm genuinely just trying to say something good for you here. Like, forgive me if I don't say it in the right way, this and that. Then, your friend's going to know you're coming from a good place. It's just sometimes how you go about it, not necessarily what you're doing. Um, but bro, yeah, let's keep pushing each other on. I mean, I was in my sports psych seminar today. They were saying how sometimes you can't see your strengths as good as others can see yours. I actually had a message from Nella the other week, and he was asking me about what I think about his character, and like he said, because he saw a video saying that people can assess your character sometimes better than you can, because you're always in your own life, whereas an outside view can help. And I think just that's where having another person in your life to push you can really help. Something which I found really interesting this week was I was watching Stephen Bartlett on, forgive me for saying it again, Chris Williams' podcast. But
Who would have thought it?
he was talking about not putting labels on yourself. So say for example, you know, I don't know, let's have a quick example everyone can relate to. Let's say politics, right? Let's say someone labels themselves as someone on the very left side of politics. Maybe something comes up on the right side, and they actually do agree with it, but because it's come from someone on the right side, they feel like they can't because they've labeled themselves as someone who's on the left side. So they almost kind of go against that. That was actually an example Steve Bartlett used. A bit different example is I was waiting for an Uber with Derek and Sean yesterday, and I asked Sean if he was going to the presentation night. And he said, "I'm not too sure. If I do go, I'm not going to drink too much though." And Derek was like, why are you already forecasting what you're going to do? You don't know how you're going to feel on that day. You don't have to label yourself to that day already." And it kind of made me think, like, how many times do we say to ourselves, I remember last semester, I'm just going to have a chill weekend this weekend. But I ended up going out that weekend because on the day it was Saturday, I actually wanted to go out. How many times are we labeling ourselves to things, attaching ourselves to things that we don't need to? Stephen Bartlett's main idea with this was we don't need to be anything. We can be free sort of spirits. We don't have to be attached to a certain identity. We can be more fluid than that. So it was just something I found really interesting, not attaching labels to ourselves. And because by doing that, you become stubborn. And you can create a lot of friction in your life. I've realized now I was putting a lot of a label on myself. We spoke about this quite a few times on the podcast, on me being a coach at the uni. Oh, that means I can't go out on a Wednesday with the lads because I'm a coach and I need to be professional. I'm putting that label on myself. We have our own narrative. So I just found that really interesting. I was wondering what your thoughts were that. Have you ever found yourself kind of labeling yourself to things and it makes you a bit stubborn in your life at all?
Well, I think we've actually had a similar conversation about this before, Dan, not on the podcast, but over the phone, um, about labels and the restrictions that I think they put on you. I think we
Yeah,
live
even
now,
relationships, yeah.
like relationships, everything. I think we live in a society now, bro, where people are so desperate for a bit of attention that they have to put themselves into a group. And it's like everyone's got their box, right? What box do you want to be in? Do you want to be in the politics example, the left or the right, or do you want to be that arsehole in the middle? You know what I mean? It's just like, you know what I'm trying to say? I'm just, in my opinion, bro, it's like the world is pushing for everyone to be extremely vocal of one opinion or extremely vocal of another. But it's like, why do we have to do that? Why do we have to do that? I just don't really understand it. What are you laughing about, bro?
That's the
What's
way
wrong
you
with
said that arsehole in the middle thing. That was
oh,
amazing.
well, but it is true though. It is true. But on a
Oh,
serious note, like the labels thing is like it's pretty dangerous because I do genuinely just think that it's people trying to fit into a crowd, and people want to feel like they're part of something. When it comes to you labeling your weekends, that's a bit different. But like politics, relationships, all that kind of stuff, like I don't know why everything needs to be labeled. In fact, the only reason, and this is what I said to someone, the only reason that your relationship with someone needs to be labeled is because you care about what other people think of your relationship. And as soon as you care more about what other people think of your relationship than what you and the other person think of your relationship, well, then you're not loving them for them. You're loving them for someone else. And that's my issue with labels. You could see someone down in a casual setting. Maybe you like seeing them and you just want to see them. Just see them. Why does there need to be a label? If someone asks, why is it any of their business? We've got a problem with labels and keeping shit to yourself. That's just my view. Not everyone needs to know everything about you. Who you're seeing, who you love, who you fancy, what job you do. People don't need to know all these things. Enjoy the privacy of your own information, of your own mind, because no one can see through it. People only know what you're thinking until you tell them. And I just think that there is a problem that we have with external influence and what we like. Push it away. That's my opinion.
yeah, do it for yourself, not for others. And I think that can be a good, not a good thing, but like a good that's a good example of where labels can come from because we feel like we need to put a label so we can kind of, when we're speaking to others, when we're kind of showing our identity to others, we feel like we've got something there. And that can put you in a box and literally the example you use and we don't need to be in a box, break out that box and just walk around and be free. We don't, one day, I think of a really good example. Something that's happened in my life recently was Scarlett used to think that um clubbing wasn't the best. She used to think she didn't really enjoy it, right? Now, like she enjoys going to the club with her friends. And like she put herself in a box of being someone who thought, she didn't like clubbing. And then so when she started to enjoy it, it was like there was maybe a bit of resistance there with herself and she couldn't enjoy it as much. But now she's kind of let go of that idea and she loves it. And she says to me the reason why she was like that to begin with was because she wasn't getting that experience herself. She had a tough first year and she didn't connect with a lot of people and she didn't get that experience. So like throughout that she put herself in a box in that way. And there's just I'm sure the listener right now can think of an example where you put yourself in a box, you put a label on something, and you grew out of that shell. And just we don't need to be growing out of shells. We can just be. Um, and something I find a lot. I think life can become a bit of a to-do list at times. Always thinking about what's next, what's missing in our lives, what don't we have. I think that's a very common thing in the modern world to be thinking about, and something I kind of wanted to get across on this episode today, and something I thought about this week is, well, let's think about what we already have. Let's think about what we've got going on for ourselves now, because like we spoke about a couple episodes ago, one day you were dreaming about being in this position, one day you were thinking about being in this position you are now, and it's like, let's be grateful and appreciative of things that are around us. Do you find yourself thinking a lot about what's missing in your life?
God, all the time, Dan. I actually said it the other day. I was like walking through the shops, and I don't know, maybe they didn't take me that serious, but I said, I'm never fully happy with the things that I do in life because I always want more, you know, and that's not in an arsey way. It's just that is true. I want to achieve more.
Oh, sir.
Yeah, cheers, Dan. Bro, you're weird as. Um, I love you, bro, but you're weird as. Um, yeah, I want more, and I feel like I do maybe not appreciate quite as much what I've done and what I've achieved. But then I think as time goes on, you do start to reflect more. Bro, I've become more of an adult since living out here. You know, I think that I tend to take things more at face value. I trust my instinct a lot more on people, on things. And I also know the importance of things. I've got 12 days left, bro. Really keen to see
Oh,
my
that's
good
crazy.
friends. Yeah, 12 days left. I'm keen to just see my good friends. Work have given me a few shifts, but not too many. So I've got a whole week to go have lunch with people, coffees. I'm going to try and visit my coffee shops that I've been going to throughout my time here. Um, and I'm going to try and visit old friends if I can find them. People who I don't really have the contact for. And just enjoy it, bro. I got 2 weeks left. I'm not here looking to like panic and oh my god, I need to fly somewhere. I can afford it, but like I don't need to. I don't want to. I can, like I can chill with my mates. I want to go to a couple of beaches. I want to play a bit of tennis. I want to go and play a bit of football on the beach. I want to go to my favorite restaurants, my favorite cafes. And just say goodbye. That's it. Share a few beers with a few mates. I want my last shift to be a closing shift, and all I want to do is drink and listen to music with people that I work with, like we have done since I started working there. That's important to me, you know. Um, and of course, I want to go clubbing with them and do all that kind of stuff. But like, bro, those moments where you close, you do it at the pub, where you close and you'd all have a beer and you just sit there and listen to good music. Sometimes you wouldn't even say nothing. That's special, bro. And and most importantly, and I want to give a shout out to Deck because he doesn't really talk about his emotions very much, but he's been very open with me. In the past week, we've had I think as me and him, and also our friends, we've had a really rough one with Elijah's passing and stuff, and there's a potential that when I'm home, I'll be able to go to the funeral. So I think on a personal level for me, I want to be home for that. Um, and I want to be home for my friends. I want to be home for Deck because I know that it was only a few months ago that I actually saw Deck compared to my other mates. But I also know what he's going through, bro. So it's hard as a friend to stand and watch while your friends are struggling a bit and you can't give them a hug. That's really difficult. So yeah, I just want to be there for him. And yeah, bro, you know, I'm grateful for everything this experience has offered me, continues to offer me. I'm grateful for the people I live with now, Georgia Bella, all my work friends, the friends in, I'm grateful to Corin, my friend in Byron Bay, like my only mate. I'm grateful to Jada. Um, I'm just grateful. So thank you to you if you're listening and you've been part of this journey. If you've just given me a call while I've been out here, if you've been here with me, thank you. It means a lot to me. So yeah, it's a great experience.
Well, it's interesting how when you went on that gratitude train there, you spoke a lot about people,
Yeah,
and I think that's a key message in anything. It's like when I was on the coach back with Derek yesterday, and he did like a speech for his lads, and he said like a leaving speech, and he said to me when a lot of them came up to him, they weren't saying, "Oh, we really enjoyed your tactics. We really enjoyed that one finishing session you did. We really enjoyed um, that match day sub you made." It was you've made my. I heard a good few lads yesterday on that coach back say, You've really made my uni experience. Thank you so much. Thank you for caring for me." And he said that to me. He said that was more important than anything. And he said, I always put them in front of anything, in front of the football, in front of me. It's about them, and it's about caring, and care is the most important thing. And I embody a lot of that, and that's why me and Derek get along very well. But you didn't just go there like, when you think about traveling, you didn't. I know you will be grateful for these things, but you didn't just go there. I'm grateful for the beach and the sunrises and the birds, and of course you are. But the first thing you said was the people, and I think it's so important that we all acknowledge that outside of everything in life, the people are the biggest power. And our network, and literally how this podcast started, two friends pushing each other on. This exact episode right now, two friends talking about goals they've set each other. Like, people is everything, and it's always going to be people that win. So make
I just
sure in
wanted
your
to.
lives you're caring for people, man.
Sorry, I just wanted to jump in. I don't want to interrupt Dan, but I wanted
No,
to
go
say
for it.
as well. It's like people don't care what you are; they care about who you are.
And how
You
you
know,
made them feel.
and how you make them feel. And that's the truth, bro, because I, someone being a somebody to me, like someone being in a high position somewhere, means, to use the phrase, fuck all to me. I don't care. Really, I don't care, because why would I? That offers me nothing. But I had a guy come up to me when I was at work the other day, and he was just stood at the bar. And I'm like, "You're good, mate." His name was Gordon, right? And he was at this work function. He's a bit of a chatty bloke. He's going around talking to people, and they've obviously got like a networking event. And I'm making this drink for him, and I've kind of made a Moscow Mule in a way, just without putting it in a shaker and all that kind of stuff. And he's like, "You know what? I just want to say something to you. Your service throughout the night has been amazing. You and your staff, like everyone that's worked here, you've all been incredible. And what you're doing now, that's talent, that's passion." And he says, "I love going somewhere and just seeing people that enjoy their job. That makes me smile." And he made my night. And then he left. And I was like, that's amazing. And he said he just wants to share some gratitude with someone once a day to make their day. And bro, that's why from then on I mean, even before that, I've been happy to work where I work. But even then, I'm like, I'm even happier now. The people make the moment. They don't want you for what you are, they want you for who you are. Two big sentiments, I think. And the people made this moment, bro, because for a long time I had people around me that just weren't that great. Or should I say a person around me that just wasn't that great. So cheers to that, bro. It all works out in the end, bro. It always works out. Can't keep a good man down, our kid. You can't. It's impossible.
Oh, brother, man. Well, I think that's a nice way to end it. I know you need to shoot off to work pretty quickly, but people really do make the difference. And if you can, that's our challenge to you in the next few days after listening to this podcast, or in the next week or whenever. Just, can you express some gratitude to someone the way someone expressed gratitude to Jamie at that bar? Because that's more important than anything. I'll express my gratitude to you, brother. I love you lots, man, and to see you out in Australia, you've been doing a lot, and it's awesome to see, bro. And you push me on, and I'm grateful for my family and for my friends around me. So let's keep going, bro. Let's keep going.
Bro, I'm grateful for you as well, man. I'm loving everything we're doing here. And shout out to you, the listener. We appreciate everything that you're doing for us. We've actually seen recently a lot more support. So thank you. Keep doing your thing. Keep listening. If you are a regular listener, make sure you're clicking follow and hitting the little bell so that you can keep up to date all the time. If you're new, please drop us a follow. It takes 2 seconds out of your day. If you've made it this far, I don't think another 10 seconds of your time is going to take up any more. MakingItPoddy@gmail.com if you want to email us, ask us any questions. But social media @MakingItPoddy, Spotify, Making It Podcast. Shout out Dan Ferguson _SP on Instagram, Jamie Martin _media, Broken Sydney blog, Fergie Time. Bro, we've got all of these different things. We'll put links in the description as well. So just jump down and have a little look. But I'm excited for what this podcast and what we as friends, bro, are going to achieve, because we got some big things in the pipeline. So you're going to want to stick around. But that was episode 67. Have a good
I'll
week.
do it for the end.
Oh, look at it. I'm clipping that up. Episode 67. Have a great week. Making It podcast. See you next
Take it
Tuesday.
easy. Have a belter.